I've always thought moss was magical. I think it's magic. You see that laurel thicket behind me? That's what we call laurel. Other people say it's rhododendron. I know that's really what it is, but we call it laurel. Inside that was my playhouse when I was a little girl. When Pap and Granny first moved here to Wilson Holler and brought me and my brothers with them, this was just magical place to grow up. It still is, I think, a magical place to live. Inside there, those laurels were not that big. It was more open, but it was still, you felt all nestled and safe inside, away from everyone, where no one would know what you were playing. It was a perfect place to build a little playhouse. And that's what I did. I'd take my dolls in there, I'd play, I'd make little chairs and little seats and pretend like it was my house. Well, I needed a carpet, right? What did I use? I went into the woods and I brought back moss with me. You can see some of it right here. Some moss that's so pretty, so beautiful. There's so many different kinds if you look closely. And when I was a little girl, I would notice the different kinds. Some of it was perfect for looked like a carpet where I could lay it in the floor and sit on it, the floor of my playhouse. Other types were so lush and soft, they looked like giant blankets. They made the perfect little couch, or even if you thought about covering up with them. I didn't cover up with the moss, but that's what it reminded me of. So just magical and soft and beautiful. Have you ever seen a brighter, more vibrant green? Mosses are so beautiful. And so that's what it makes me think of. Many years ago on the Blind Pig and the Acorn, I wrote about moss. And I actually, first I was writing about galax. So galax. Galax is a plant that grows wild in the mountains of Appalachia. And a lot of people in the early days, way back when, they would go out and gather that, and then they would sell it to the florist so they could make beautiful arrangements, especially this time of the year. They called those people galackers. They were galackers because that's what they were working on. People don't do that today. But one day I was writing about that on the Blind Pig and the Acorn, and Ed Ammons, Papaw, he watches all our videos and we appreciate him so much. He told me that when he was a boy growing up in the Appalachian Mountains, he wasn't a galacker, but he was a mosser. He went and gathered moss for the same reason. They would gather it in big blankets, if you will, big pieces of it, and then they would roll it up, and then they would take it and they would sell it to florists. And that was a way for them to make money for Christmas, to spend at Christmas for anything they needed through the year. That was just kind of a way to make extra money. So I've been stalking through the woods trying to find things for my greening of Christmas, and I come up on this wonderful little patch of running cedar. And people used to decorate with this a lot in the past. They would cut it, you can cut it and kind of dust it with flour and kind of lay it around. It's a vine, and then it looks like, looks like a perfect Christmas decoration. In lots of places, it has been gathered until it is kind of on the endangered species list, kind of. I don't know if it is for sure or not, but I know it's kind of been eradicated in some places. But here's a wonderful patch of it just growing wild. It also grows wild in Granny and Pap's yard. It's a really beautiful little plant. This moss is beautiful. I don't know what it's called, but it's almost like millions of little tiny ferns. See that? Such delicate little beauty, but then all together makes a lovely carpet of moss. Just like a shag carpet of moss. Beautiful. So I found some beautiful moss right here on this tree. You can see if I push in, it's just like a big giant pillow in there. I'm going to take a little bit of it home because I'm going to make a Christmas decoration out of it. So when Matt and I were first married and we moved into our house almost 30 years ago, hard to believe, it was just, the landscape around it was barren. We didn't even know what landscape meant, but around our house was just red clay dirt. And I was wanting something to just kind of soften the edges and make it look like it had belonged there, like it had always been there, instead of this new place kind of carved out of the north side of the mountain. So I climbed up the ridge behind our house, and I found moss like this growing on the trees or growing wherever. That's the good thing about two things. Living on the north side of the mountain, I have a lot of moss, and then also the mountains of Appalachia as a whole are a temperate rainforest, so there's plenty of moisture for mosses and different things like that to grow. But I threw down pieces into the yard because it was so steep, that bank. It was all I could do to get up it. It was easier to go around the edges instead of to go straight up the goat bluff, as Matt would say. And then I got rocks out of the creek, and I lined the edge of the house, made a little flower bed. The flower bed's still there after all these years. But I put moss on all those rocks, and I knew if I just laid it down there, nature would take its course, and then before I knew it, I would have all my little flower beds would be moss-covered rocks, and it would look like it had been there forever instead of that it had just been built. And the thing about it, I can take me a big hunk of it, more will grow, it'll just grow back. And this is what it looks like on the underside. It's kind of, even though it's been so wet, it's kind of dry. Isn't it just lovely though? And it's just cushy, just like a big cushion. So beautiful. And that'll cover itself back up in no time. So I'm just going to take a little bit with me. Beautiful. And what I don't use for my Christmas decoration, I will take it outside, lay it down on one of my garden rocks or on the edge of the bank, and it'll just start growing for me right there. You can see the moss on this one's growing all the way up the tree. And as it grows up the tree, it's kind of that shag carpet. Got the shag carpet look. And down here's more of just the big pillow look that I would have wanted for my playhouse when I was a girl at Pap and Granny's. So you can see this almost looks like little Christmas trees in itself. Isn't it beautiful? So I'm going to take some of this for my project too. So it's been a couple of days since Corey and I went and found all that magical moss, had that wonderful day outdoors. It was just lovely. And I've had it sitting on my porch, on my front porch, still in the little container we gathered. And it's been doing just fine out there because it still has a lot of moisture underneath on the roots that's still there. And then we live in such a moist place. Here in the mountains of southern Appalachia, even in the wintertime, the air is still moist. It's still moist, especially we've had a lot of rain. So it's been just fine waiting on us. So today I'm finally ready to make, I'm just going to make one or two little crafts with it. So what do I like to make? Well, think of a snow globe, except there's no snow. That's kind of how I picture it. And I don't really remember where I learned how to make this. Maybe I seen it online, but probably I got it from Granny. I got the ideal from Granny, and then I kind of expanded on it. So she would take just a quart jar. This is like an old mayonnaise jar. It's glass, but it doesn't have any writing on it. And then she would create a little snow scene in here. She even painted. I went downstairs to try to find one, and I just couldn't lay my hands on one. I know I've got them here. But she would even paint little scenes, like maybe a little snow, look like snow, maybe a little tree. And then down in the middle, down there, she would put some, maybe glue a little reindeer or a snowman or a Santa or whatever. And then that was a little Christmas decoration. Sometimes she would do that little paint, and then there would just be a candle in the bottom. So different little variations of it. So I'm really protective of my canning jars, so I don't want to paint on them and then not being able to use them. That's probably my frugal nature, is probably how I come up with what I'm doing, along with probably seeing it in a magazine or online or something like that. Granny's not as frugal as I am. So I thought, how would I be able to use it but not actually ruin it by gluing or painting or anything like that? So I come up with the plan that I would use I would put moss in there, and then I would just build my little Christmas scene on it. And it just turned out so pretty that I just fell in love with it. It's kind of, I have such a great love for the outdoors, for the magic of moss, and then for Christmas too. So it's kind of like combining all my favorite things together. So first, I've already made one. I'll show you that one. This is like an old coffee jar, I think, that we've picked up on one of our travels where we go treasure hunting. And you can see I've just put the moss down in the bottom. I put the Santa there, and I put some little sprigs of fake greenery behind him, and that was it. That's all. And I just think it turned out so cute. I'm going to set him somewhere in here in the kitchen. So I think it turned out just fabulous. Now, if you want to use, there's two different ways. You could use like the one like Granny did, and like I've done in this one, and use the bottom for your platform. You know, that's what I'm doing, the bottom. Another easy way though is to turn it, this is one of my canning jars, one of my pint jars. It's a largemouth, and largemouths are easier to work with if you have them. So I'm going to use it like this. I'm going to use the bottom, the lid, I'm going to use it as my little platform in this one. And then I will do it on this side that doesn't have any writing, so you can see through it easier. So I'm just using, you can see, what was this? Bread and Butter 2020. That was bread and butter that I made. So I'm going to use it. And along with my moss, what I like to do is, if you're like me and you've got Christmas decorations that you use year after year after year, what happens is a lot of them, they get broke, they get tore, they get tattered, little pieces come off of other things, and all that accumulates down in the bottom of my Christmas decoration boxes. So I usually go and pull out a box and dig all the way to the bottom and see what I can find. So when I do that, I find things like this. This was a little mouse, but he has no hat. I bet he had a Santa hat. He was probably an ornament. I found just some random little, these are just little silver balls with a little, they probably were attached to something. I looked for, this is an ornament, like a small angel, things like this. I find things like, you know, here's probably went on top of a cake, a little decoration. Old greenery, it always has that. Maybe here's an ornament. I'm going to use this one, I know, this deer, I really like it. Old presents, you can see the glue on the bottom of that one. Granny's made that present. She's cut styrofoam and then wrapped it in fabric and tied a little ribbon on it. And I bet that goes in my train, so I'm going to put it back in my train. And then I found this other one somebody else has made, a paper box, so I'm going to put those in my train. Little Christmas trees. I just go through and find anything that appeals to me, and then I come in here, put it all out, and then I start trying to figure out what I could make with it. And sometimes I don't use it all. I'm not going to use all this, but it just gives your mind options, I guess, is what I would say. So first of all, I'm gonna start with my little thing I had here, and I'm going to put me some moss on the inside there. And you can, I do have my glue gun in case I need it. You can put glue just on the moss, and that way it would hold up whatever it is, but you wouldn't be damaging your other things. Or maybe you could just peel the glue, if it's just glue and not paint, I'm sure you could just peel it off of the jar. So I think I really want to use this little deer because I think it would be really pretty. And I'm not even going to take off, someone over the years has tied that ribbon as a Christmas decoration hanger. I'm not even going to take that off. I'm going to put him right there, kind of fold that in. But he needs something to go in front of him. Maybe this little star that's broke off of something over the years. Oh, and maybe this is a little ornament Corey and Katie's made where you just put beads on pipe cleaners and close it up. Maybe that would be pretty. I'm going to turn it around a little bit, see if I can put the little star. I'm going to attempt to do it without any glue. I may have to add some. And then there's also, I've got some really pretty little red things that have fallen off of something, so I might just poke those around him in the back there, maybe in the front too, and then see what happens. I've got to remember to put the, well, let's see how it happens. I may have to play around with that since I'm going to have to screw it on. I may have to push my moss up in there. Oh yeah, it turned out really pretty. I am going to try one more time to get it, let's see, all the way over here where I could screw it and it would be better facing the glass. There. Oh, I think it's adorable. You can see the moss behind it. I do think I might need to use some glue though to keep him standing there, so let's try that. But it is adorable. That's the exciting part about creating, is that you just never know how adorable it's all going to be. Looks like I need another glue stick. Okay, now I'm going to put the deer back. Put his ribbon up so we don't glue it down. The little things back. I'm going to put a little bit more for my star. Make it stand upright. Oh yeah, that's going to be much firmer. Put me another little red one down in there. There. Turned out so pretty. So pretty. Now let's see if we can sandwich him in here. Got one little piece of, oh, turned out so lovely. You can see, so pretty. The weird light may be on the glass, but we'll give you a close-up once we're done. But I'm thrilled with that one. I love it. So I've got two that I love. I've got that one and I've got this other. Now, let's see. I don't usually ever do this, but when I was downstairs looking for some jars, I found, I bought these canisters and I make pickles in them. They're just so handy, and they're cheaper than buying crocks. I have some crocks, but fermenting I like to do in these glass canisters. So I seen this and I thought, oh, that would be a pretty little winter scape. So I'm going to use it. And I think I'm going to use, I've got this big, beautiful piece of moss, still wet on the underside. I think I'm going to put it right down there in the middle and hope it covers it. It does. Looks so pretty. Okay, now what am I going to put in it? I found this really pretty, and it may not even be necessarily Christmas, but it was in the Christmas. It was just a really cheap, plain, like a ceramic angel. I think I'm going to try that. Wouldn't that be pretty in there? I may have to glue her down, but this one could be really simple. Let's see. Ooh, I wonder if this would be pretty. I don't even know what this come off of, but you can kind of see it's kind of gold and ornate. Let's see if I can kind of straighten it out a little bit. It's been folded up in something. Looks like maybe it went around a candle or something was supposed to be, but let's see if we can make it go around an angel. I have to hold this one up to look. Ooh, that's pretty. That's looking pretty. Now what else could I put in there with them? This one may just be really, really simple. Here's again some kind of really shiny, I guess that's supposed to be, I don't know what that's supposed to be actually. Now how am I going to get it to curve around in there? I wonder if I could make it go around the angel too and then kind of stick up in the back. I don't want it to stick up too much though. I don't know if I'm going to like that. Yeah, I don't like it, so I'm going to take it back out. Get rid of it. What else could I use? Maybe I don't need anything. It's so pretty. Might put some, I have some pine cones. I wonder if I could, what they would look like if I just put them in the back. That's kind of pretty. I have a dark one, but I don't like that one. Another white one here. That's kind of pretty. Yeah, I just don't like that color. Let's see if we can put another one. Put 3. That's not bad, but I'm not sure if that's what I like. Let's see, what else have we got? That's not going to go with my, now that I've used the gold and the kind of glitzy look. The white ones do look good, but I don't know. I may have to ask Corey's opinion. Corey, what do you think?
I think that's beautiful.
I don't know. I think it needs something else, but I don't know what else it needs. There's a pretty star that says Corey on the back.
Maybe that's what it needs.
Yeah, it's a different color of white, so that ain't gonna work. These little silver balls would be pretty if we could put them on something. I wonder if we could put a little tree in it. Nah, wrong color of green. That one's not too bad, but I don't like that. There's just a silver dangle, but I don't know how we would dangle it. It's kind of pretty. This is the part of creating, is that you got to think about what you like and what you don't like and see what you can come up with. I wonder if we could maybe take these back out. And we had some moss that was kind of, you have any of it left? Maybe it needs more moss. A magic of moss, right, Corey?
Yeah.
Maybe it needs more. Had some that was kind of, oh, it smells so good. If you like the smell of moss, I do. It smells so lovely. I don't know, I'm not afraid to put that down in there. There's some, that's pretty. Oh yeah, I think that's it. I think that's what it needs. Now if I can find some more pokey looking moss, there's some. Oh, so pretty. They look like little trees themselves. I've still got leaves and dirt and all kinds of stuff in here. Oh yeah, I like that. I like it better than the... I do need some sort of... I wonder if I could... I might try cutting one of these off. I might regret that in future Christmases, but for today, I'm going to do it. Might as well cut both of them once I cut them. Now let's see if I can stick them down in there. Of course, all these things are subjective. You may think this is the ugliest thing you've ever seen in your life. It's just all subjective to the person that's actually making it. Oh, but I think it's lovely. Oh yeah, Corey, come back and see. Don't you think this is better? I think this is much better. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think that one's done. And I'm not even going to have to use any glue in that one. Isn't that pretty? Don't that just look magical? And I love it because of the angel, of course. At Christmas, we think about the angels with good tidings. So that one's done. So exciting. I have one more, but I don't even know if I really need to do it. Maybe I almost want to just stuff it all full of moss. And I'm glad I thought of that, because I wanted to tell you about years ago when I wrote about using moss like this and the magic of moss. One of my readers said that she went on a trip somewhere. I can't remember exactly if or maybe it was just even outside at her house, but she'd come up on this beautiful little patch of moss. And she got a little handful of it, and she took it back, and she had a little pretty jar, and she put it in that jar, and she set it in her kitchen window, and that she could just see that and remember where it come from and remember how beautiful it was. And every once in a while, like maybe every 6 months or something, not often at all, she would put a little water in there, and that's all she did. And it was still alive like years later, which was magical. It's like I guess they call them air plants or something, except to me, because this is where I come from, is very more magical to me than an air plant would be. All right, Corey, I should have let you make one. What else could we put in this last one? I don't know. There's a pretty little piece. And should we try to do it like this way? Let's see what this one's going to look like, since it's not a... We would need to put a lot more, wouldn't we, if we do it that way. So then if we do it the other way, poke it down in there. And then is that enough? Think that's enough? Or you think it needs more? Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to put in this one. I've about used my stuff.
She would be pretty if she would fit.
If we could make her stand up. Somehow we might have to... Yeah. We could push her up against the glass, but then she'd be right in the front. I wonder if we just... I mean, I'm tempted to just stuff it full of moss and see what happens. Oh, that's pretty. Would that go in there? That's an old one. You can tell by how it feels and how it's made.
That's pretty.
That's not bad, yeah. Maybe we could... Okay, me and Corey worked together. We changed it up a little bit. This is not my favorite, but it's still pretty. So then I have a little lid that I'll just put on it, and we'll set this one. So we'll give you some close-up views of them so you can see how they all turned out. I'm not sure what my favorite is. My favorite may be the deer, just because I just love it. And this size works good too, a largemouth pint. But then the kind of the one we put in the big glass containers, awful pretty too. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how I make kind of, I guess it's Tipper's version of a snow globe. It ain't got no snow in it, even as much as I love snow. One thing Granny did do, though, reminds me of, and someday maybe I'll be able to find one, but she would make these, find one down at her house. I don't have one here, or I would show you. She would make these. She'd get a piece of styrofoam, ever how you say it. I mean, Corey's got an ongoing debate about that. And she would put white cotton so that it looked like snow, and then she would create these little snow scenes. So beautiful, so beautiful. So you could do that too. Instead of moss, you could use your little white cotton if you wanted to. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I make these little decorations, and I hope I imparted some of the Christmas spirit that it brings to my heart to think about the magic of moss at Christmas, but also all the wonderful memories I have tied to it, from being a little girl growing up in Wilson Holler to being a grown woman still living here today.